Your dog's nails probably need to be trimmed, and you probably have not been able to do it because you have a little bit of a problem trimming your dog's nails. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to do this practically, effectively, as efficiently as possible without having to spend several weeks, several months working with one nail at a time. And we're going to do this in a very quick, short session. For this, I'm going to be using a scissor style nail clipper. This is my favorite one because it's just fast. I don't like the guillotine style clippers. They tend to pinch the nail at some point. These don't pinch, and this gives me the flexibility to trim at an angle. So instead of just trimming from the front, I can go at an angle and slightly shave off whatever I need. You can use Dremels. I don't have a problem with Dremels. I've used them before. I personally am not a fan of the Dremels just because I have to acclimate the dog to the buzzing of the Dremel, and it's just a personal preference for me. I prefer the scissor style nail clippers because I can go a little bit at a time. It doesn't require a whole lot of preparation. I can just go right into it, get it done, and then move on with the rest of my day. What you're gonna see me do with these dogs can be a little bit risky if you don't know the dog. If you don't know the dog, you need to spend more time getting to know the dog. If you don't know the dog, getting to know them by trimming their nails is not the best way to build a bond. If you are a groomer, that's different. If you're a groomer, you get dogs that you don't know all the time. So these dogs don't know you, a lot of them don't even like you, and now you're getting to know them for the very first time by touching them and getting invasive, and they just don't like it. But groomers are pretty skilled. They have the tools, they have the ability to do this in a way that minimizes any potential hazard that may result from trimming a dog's nails that you don't know. So again, if you don't know the dog, get to know the dog first, because it can be very tricky if you don't know the dog. So I just want to throw that out there. What you're gonna see me, watch this video in its entirety, watch it again, rewind, watch whatever parts you need to, but keep in mind, this can be risky if you don't know the dog. I have another video in which I do this in a slower pace, so watch that if you need to. This is more of a, we're gonna get it done, we're gonna move on, and we don't have to love it, we're just gonna do it safely, effectively, efficiently, and we're gonna move on. So a couple of things that we wanna keep in mind before we start doing this. I wanna make sure that when I do this, I'm aware of my surroundings. I don't wanna corner myself. I don't wanna put myself in a situation in which the dog might decide he doesn't like it, and now I'm tripping on things that are all over the place. I don't wanna literally corner myself. So be aware of your surroundings. Best way to do this is in an open area. The other thing we have to keep in mind is safety, okay? We're doing this, ideally you're doing this with your dog. If you're not sure if your dog likes it, maybe you need a little bit of extra help. You might need additional tools. You might need a muzzle. You might need to condition your dog to the muzzle and do this while wearing a muzzle. Remember, we're doing this quickly. This is not the slow way. This is the quick way, but it's still safe and it's effective. You're gonna see here in a moment. The other thing I want to mention here is, if you don't know what you're doing, don't do it. And what I mean by that is, if you've never trimmed nails, or if you're not sure how to trim, don't do it. Look it up, okay? Talk to a groomer, bring it to a groomer, work with a trainer, because this can be a very stressful procedure for your dog. And what I mean by that is, if you trim too short, you're going to quick your dog. Now, quicking a dog means you trim so close and so short that you actually shave some of the skin right underneath the nail. Now, if you do that occasionally, it's not the end of the world. Even experienced groomers will occasionally quick a dog. But if you do it consistently, like if you do it every single time, you do it with every single nail, or you do it with like every other nail, what's gonna happen is your dog will learn not to like the nail trimming process. They'll learn to fight you because naturally you're causing them pain, you're causing them a lot of discomfort, so they're gonna give you a lot of resistance. So the way I want to do this is I want to do one little bit at a time. Even though we're doing this quickly, I don't want to just start trimming indiscriminately and just quicking and making the dog bleed and making him uncomfortable. Now the whole thing becomes a shit show. So one little bit at a time. If we have to do 1 or 2 nails at a time, if that's what you feel most comfortable with, go ahead and do that. But if your dog allows you to do it a little bit longer, I want you to persist. I want you to stay with it till the dog realizes, okay, it's not that terrible, and you are going to trim at least 1 or 2 nails. So we want to let the dog know we are in fact doing this, but it is going to be not the most unpleasant thing. It is going to have some benefits to it.
Okay, here we have Drake. Drake is going to be the first example. I want to show you what not to do first. This right here is a bad idea, because if he decides he doesn't like what we're doing, he could easily muzzle punch me. He could kick me with his paw. He could bite me if that's what he desired to do. So that is what you don't want to do. You don't want to be facing the dog straight on. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to turn away from them. It's almost like I'm putting my my butt against him. That way, if he does decide he doesn't like it, I can block any potential attack if that were to happen. Remember, we're doing this with a dog that we know. We're not doing this with a dog we don't know. This is why I was very adamant about emphasizing that in the first part of the video. So I'm doing the nail clipping here. And I'm doing a little bit at a time. My goal is not to trim the entire thing. I'm going to do now the same thing on the other side. So you can see here, I'm putting my butt against him essentially. I'm grabbing the front paw and I'm trimming. If he decided, you know what, I don't like this, screw you. Who do you think you are? My right elbow is right there blocking him. And yes, that does put my right elbow, my right arm in a vulnerable position, but it is better obviously than my face being in a vulnerable position. For the back legs, this is what we're going to do. Now you notice I'm putting basically both my armpits over him. And again, if he decided, you know, I really don't like this, screw you, I'm gonna nip you, or I'm going to try to get out of here, my face is safe. I still am holding on to the leash because I want to maintain positive control over the dog. Same thing on the other side. You're probably going to get a better view here. Both my armpits over the dog. I'm standing. I'm not sitting. So if he decided to make the wrong choice, my left elbow is right there blocking him from doing something that would not be good for either of us. I will say Drake gave me no hassle at all. He needed to get his nails trimmed. This was the first time me doing it, and he did amazing. So that went really smooth. And here we have a young dog. She is 5 months of age, so just over 5 months of age. And this is the first time getting her nails trimmed. As you can see, there's a lot more resistance. She's never had this done. In both instances, I really know these dogs. This dog right here, this little dog is familiar. I'm familiar to her. We have a bond. We play together. I feed her. But obviously this is something new. And my goal here is not to trim all of her nails. My goal here is to just let her know I'm holding onto your paw. I'm not squeezing the paw. I'm just holding onto it. And I'm letting her know I'm just not going to let go. Now, as a bonus, I will shave some of those claws. Shaving. I'm not trying to trim them. If I can, that's great. And if I can do one paw or two paws, that's great. Because of the level of resistance that I'm getting with this from this dog compared to Drake, the older one, the bigger one, the session here is a little bit longer. This is Like I mentioned earlier in the video, this is not the long, lengthy way. This is not the way that will do one nail at a time, several weeks. This is more of a, hey, we're gonna get this done and we're gonna move on. So when she decides, no, what are you doing? I really don't like this, I just drop the nail clipper and then I go back to holding on to her. And you can also see I'm putting her underneath my armpit again to maintain positive control of the dog. I'm not squeezing the paw, I'm just holding on to it. I'm preventing her from wiggling out of the position that I want her to be in. So obviously she's fighting me a little bit more here. I'm being very matter of fact. I'm not correcting her, I'm not yelling at her, I'm not angry with her. Just very matter of fact. We're doing this and there's no way to avoid it. Now if she were to start to alligator roll and just go into a chaotic tantrum, then I would change my approach. Very likely what I would do is I'd muzzle her, and maybe then I would go, alright, we're gonna do maybe one nail at a time. This process right here is meant to be all business. This is meant to be a little bit of a faster approach. This is actually called flooding. And the goal of flooding is for them to basically accept their situation. We're not correcting them, we're not making them upset, we're just letting them know this is something that is going to get done, and that's all there is to it. We're not hurting you, we're not we're not trying to cause you any stress. This is just a procedure that is getting done, and this can be applied to obviously like here nail trimming, crate training, a bunch of other things. Now you are noticing that her reaction is starting to change a little bit. She's starting to get a little bit distracted, but it kind of goes up and down. She goes along with it, and then sometimes she has like a quick outburst of a tantrum. So that right there is good, and I'm just barely trimming a little bit at a time. The other thing too that is going to help is if we do this frequently. If I only do this once a month, or if I only do this very just sparingly, she will not get to enjoy the benefit of doing it frequently. And the more frequent we do this, the better.